official English source for all things Olympiakos FC and Greek football.
The first day of training is when I realized, this is why they win the league every year.
When I spoke with Kevin, if I gonna sign or no for Olympiakos, he said, "You are crazy, go direct, my friend."
Να πετύχω ήθελα να μείνω στην ιστορία του Ολυμπιακού.
I can't speak, sure.
Yeah.
Έλα μαλάκα!
Σ' αγαπώ πάρα πολύ, Πειραιάς. Είμαι Γάβρος πάντα, όλοι μαζί.
Welcome to another episode of the Gate 7 International Podcast. My name's Costa, coming to you live after Olympiacos draw against MACCABI HAIFA 1-1 away in Israel. And I have special guest, good friend of ours, Martial, aka Olympiakos France, as he's known in the Twitter sphere. Martial, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming back on the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm less angry than one hour ago, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we're here. We're gonna get into the game. Already, lots of conversations going on. I mean, let's start first of all. It's Olympiakos lives to fight another day, I think, is one of the headlines. It's unprecedented the last couple of years that we have to start playing 20th of July. Normally, this is the time when Olympiakos is going to pre-season camp, and now we find ourselves playing mid-July in a difficult atmosphere. To be honest with you, like I've heard too many times from journalists, it's going to be hot, the humidity, the pitch isn't good. I don't care. Like, they have to play on the same pitch. Last year, when we played Ludogorets at home as well, they got a draw in 40-degree temperature. I was in the stands and I was sweating just sitting there. Those are all excuses for me. I couldn't care less. Let's start from the top, because Pedro Martins, there was a lot of talk about who would be in his starting lineup, how he would present the team. And I don't know about you, Martial, but I expected him to play Yann Villa and Mamadou Kane in midfield. The writing was on the wall. Like, he wanted to kind of make a compact team, a team that was protecting the defense, and I wasn't surprised to see that. But I think we were all surprised to see Tiquinho starting up front, and then the other one, which was somewhat a surprise, was Manolas instead of Socrates. But would you agree with that in terms of the lineup?
Yeah, I did find the lineup okay, because it was, for me, it is probably the best lineup Martin can field right now, apart from Agibu with this position as a 10, maybe. I don't really know in which position he played tonight, but the pair Manolas-Cisse works well for me. We saw that Versalico is a very nice player. He's way above the level of Olympiakos, so there is no surprise on it. And as you say, Kane was no surprise either, because he was like key player during the whole preseason, and the press was saying Martins was going to use him in this game, and he used him. So it was no surprise. And maybe Tiquinho was the other surprise, because we could have expected like El Arabi maybe, but we saw that Tiquinho did a fantastic game. To me, he did a fantastic game. I don't know if I'm the only one to think that, but given the fact that he didn't receive a lot of good balls to play, he did very well to hold the ball up front, to win some falls, to win balls against defender. And it's the only decision that was justified by Martins, because Tiquinho was probably the best not the best player, but he did a very good, I don't know what to say in English, maybe the hidden work, which is very useful for the team.
No, I think my instant reaction was to Tiquinho being in the lineup was, what is this? I mean, he scored a couple of goals in pre-season. and he's one of those players that is really reliant on service. But I agree with you. For me, and we'll get to this later, I think he was definitely one of our best players. He held up the ball really well. He tried to bring players into play. The chip that he makes to Masouras just before the goal, he's the one that lobs the ball over the defender, and then Masouras tries to outmuscle him. The ball then drops back to him. He takes the shot. The keeper gets a hand to it, hits the post, and then it rebounds kindly to Zinchenko. So he's involved in the goal. And, I think credit for that choice. I think what was controversial for me is the fact that we paid €2 million plus, essentially, to keep Youssef El Arabi in the team at his age. And he hasn't even played a minute today. Hasn't played a minute. So I think that says a lot. We'll see next week whether he starts him. To be honest, the way Tiquinho looked today, he's giving the manager a headache there for next week. I thought he played really well.
Yeah, and also I agree with you, because maybe Martin's main issue is that he probably have too many choices to do in every position, starting from the midfield to the attack, because obviously he needs like 2 or 3 strikers to make a good season. But that's where maybe you need a third choice, which is a young player maybe that will sit on the bench, and it don't create headache, as you mentioned, because if he takes off Tiquinho after the first game, he probably will kill the confidence Tiquinho may have built on this game. So, but we all know that we need El Arabi. If we want to go through, we probably will need some El Arabi goals. So maybe he can associate them both, but I don't believe in this.
No, I think whenever we saw them play together up front in a 4-4-2, it was quite ugly. I don't expect to see that a lot. Only in cases perhaps where we're really chasing a goal and he wants to lob the ball. Because, to look at this chronologically, I think you and I were saying this off camera. I think that if you look at the first half, I think it went according to the plan. He set up the team in a compact way. Maccabi Haifa didn't do anything in the first half. They had a goal ruled out that was offside towards the end of the first half. I thought that
two offside goals, no?
Two offside goals, yeah. But essentially the first 20-25 minutes, I think we were in control, trying to move the ball around. The press was very effective. I was listening to the English commentary as well, and they were praising the press of the Olympiakos team in the first 20-25 minutes. And of course, the goal came early. That's a dream debut for Philip Zinchenko, his first game first official game for the club. It fell nicely to him. He slotted it in with his left foot, 1-0, 7th minute. And then the crowd quietened down. Great start. And then after 20-25 minutes, I don't know if I can say, you saw the legs going, the atmosphere starting to have an impact on the players. Slowly but surely, Maccabi Haifa had more possession. They started moving the ball around. They had those 2 chances, like you said, the 2 offside goals that were chalked off. But all in all, in terms of the approach to the game, I thought it was what Martins wanted. Like, that's what he wanted to see from the team.
Yeah. And as I said before the live, maybe if Aguibou made better choices in the opponent half, it could have been like 2-0, and the game was like over, because I don't see Maccabi being able to come back from a 2-goal lead, but we let them into the game. And I feel that we will play this in the second game, because when you play a smaller team, you have to kill every hope they have like quickly, because especially in a Champions League game, because we are the the big team on this tie, and they play at like 120%, and if we let them believe they can eliminate us, at the end of it, maybe they will do it like Ludogorets did last year.
Well, since you raised it, the score in the first game against Ludogorets was 1-1 as well. Only that time it was us playing the first leg in Greece and then going out to Bulgaria. I don't know if it's necessarily good that we take this back to Karaiskaki. I mean, under normal circumstances, you say we're going back to the Karaiskaki, we'll take this over the line and finish it. But now the pressure is really, I mean, the way the game ended, and it could have been worse. Could have been worse. They hit the bar towards the end of the game as well. All the pressure is again on Pedro Martins and Olympiakos next week at the Karaiskaki. I don't know if it's going to be a sold-out stadium, but I do want to go quickly and have a look at the comments, not neglecting the people. Thank you so much for joining us after the game today. Hit that like button. Get this episode disseminated to more Olympiakos fans so they can come and join in as well. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you're new, thanks to everyone again for tuning in. It's 11:30 Greece time, and I'm sitting here in Belgium in my attic, and Martial from France as well. Let's go and have a look at the comments. What are people saying? I see already that people are saying, αλλιώς ονειρευόμαστε τον Olympiakos, that this wasn't, what we expect from Olympiakos. We have Millionaire saying Olympiakos' performance was just okay, but I'm not 100% sure that will go through. Yorgos Kalkia says Martins in his post-match said it was a good result. Platon Papas, Jesus, the offense is still bad. Nolan Linda Fox saying defense wasn't a problem. Yes, and I think, Martial mentioned that, particularly in the first half. I think you're right. Like, when you play against these teams, and no disrespect to Maccabi Haifa, they are clearly the underdog. We are the favorites. We have to be favorites. A team like us that has 130 million wage budget compared to theirs, which is about no more than 20, I don't think. You're the favorite, and you have to kill those games off. After 1-0, we had to get the second goal, and as Martial said, I think there were one or two occasions, at least in the first half, where we had an opportunity to hit the counter in transition, where Agibo Kamara's got the ball and he's made a bad pass or had a bad control. And this is one of the things that Olympiakos fans are annoyed with, and it goes with the style of play. The manager likes to play with a 10 that is athletic, that can press the opposition, that can steal balls high up the field. And we've seen that as a characteristic throughout preseason. And we saw that effective in the first 20-25 minutes. But otherwise, it was just impossible to string 3-4 passes together. And in the second half, it was excruciating. Literally, you just had Cissé get the ball out of defense and then look to play it long to Tiquinho. And in some cases, Tiquinho was managing to bring the ball down, hold off the defenders and try and bring players in. There was that break with Aboubakar Kamara on the left where he held the ball up and played it out to Madi on the right, and the cross came in. But it's just, there's again no build up, and we're being repetitive. And I see a lot of people in the chat are talking about the style of play. Like, should we be seeing Olympiakos as prime Barcelona on the 20th of July? After what we've seen last season, and really who are the new players that have come in? Zinkernagel's come in. He's playing on the left, which is a question mark for me. It's predominantly a right winger, and Masouras is a left winger that cuts inside. And yet we see them both on different wings than what they're used to. I mean, what do you say about that, Martial? Like the lineup up front and this whole discussion about the build up and the creativity.
there are many things to say, and I think it starts from the midfield, because we have seen since he came to the club that Mvila has creativity, because he can play long, he can play short. He has no problem to to hold the ball when it's necessary, to give it quickly where it's necessary. But I have the feeling that we spoke a lot about Podense or Tsimikas that were never replaced, but I think maybe the player that was the most useful for the team was Guilherme, because he was able to create, he was able to defend, to gain some ball into the midfield, and also he was able to score in some like corners or free kicks. And I don't see this in any other midfield that came after him. I won't say that Kane is the same category, but no one can offer what he brought to the club, and that's one problem for me, because Martins didn't find any players like that, and we saw that Pepe was a failure because he didn't last more than 6 months. And also another problem for me is that Masuras is being very poor since like 6 months, starting from maybe January, February in the last season until the Ethnikis game into the end of the season. And I do like these players, but he likes maybe some creativity, as you mentioned before, in this kind of games. And I saw one comment I totally agree with, is that maybe Valbuena should have played tonight, because obviously he's not able to play like 90 minutes every 3 days, but he has this creativity, which is he can make a cross. We all know that he's probably the best crosser on this team right now. Also on free kicks, he's able to take them quite well, in my opinion. And Martin's games plan lacks a lot of creativity with the players he relies on, because I won't mention Fortunis because he's out of plan, but since he does not count on Fortunis, he barely has no choice than playing Valbuena as a starter, because we have seen that Hagibu maybe doesn't have yet the tactical structure or the tactical experience to be regular in European games. I remember he did a very good game in Fenerbahce away, because he created like 2 or 3 serious situations. But tonight he was too poor to play in that position, and maybe it costed us the win. It didn't cost us the qualification because it's not over, but it costed us a win tonight for me.
You raised a lot of great points, Martial, about the midfield, and one of the things that I've been saying, I don't know if you agree with me, is that let's start from the first point you made about Guilherme. There's been a big discussion about Jan Mvila not the last weeks, but I think the last few months and towards the end of last season. I think it's unfair that those two players are compared, Jan Mvila and Guilherme. I think they're quite different players. They both obviously can pick out a pass. They have vision. They can spread the ball on the field and make the field bigger. But I don't think we ever replaced Guilherme. Like he's very mobile in the midfield, and you look at the personnel that we have in there and the way that Martin sets up the team, and you look at Bouchalakis, Mvila, Pepe, and those 3 players, they all have similar traits in that they're all not very mobile, but they have, they're quite elegant players. Like Bouchalakis got a nice left foot. We said all those things about passing ability, but we never replaced Guilherme. That needs to be said. And again, I agree with you. There is one question I think we all have. And one thing we're all waiting for, the more patient Olympiakos fans need to have a lot of patience with this team the last year and a half, was Pedro Martin's success in the year that we beat Arsenal in extra time, was that really, how much of that was really his success, and how much of it was down to the fact that he had players like Tsimikas, players like Valbuena and El Arabi that were 2 years younger, players like Guillermo, or Pedenza that we had in the group stages? Because you look at the players that left, they still haven't been replaced. And Reabchuk, we've said it time and time again, massive improvement. I love the passion, I love the heart, but when you see him not able to play a pass 3 meters in front of him, where's the build-up going to come from, and how can you start your offense if your wing backs, they're not capable of playing a ball into feet or into space? It's not possible. But because I know, obviously you're a journalist in France, you follow French football, I want to ask you about Yann M'Vila, because I've seen a lot of these comments about Yann M'Vila that, okay, so George Karalabus, for those that are listening on podcast, George is saying that was one of the most uncreative midfields I've probably ever seen. M'Vila is finished. What do you think? Because is M'Vila one of those players that goes to a club, has a really great season, and then his form kind of declines? Because there was at Saint-Etienne let him leave on a free. What is it about Yann M'Vila, and where do you stand on this?
I remember that when M'Vila came, a lot of people told me, he will probably make one good year, and after that, it will fall down because he's maybe a one-season player in the club. But I don't agree with that, because I do have the impression that he's not really paired with another midfield that suits his qualities and his default, because we all know that he's quite old now. He can't run as fast as before. He can't make as much runs he did when he was at Rennes before, when he was younger. That's for sure. But to me, maybe it's just my opinion, but tonight without M'Vila in the first half, it would have been a disaster, because I don't know, Kane and Hagibu together, it does not work, because we saw that when Madi came in, Kane was more useful for the team. He was at the right spot at the right moment. He was not running into the desert like he did in the first half. And I think it has to do that if we want M'Vila to be good, he has to, the midfield in his whole has to be better than we saw last season. But for sure, M'Vila is not on a progressive. He's not progressing. I don't know how to say that, but he's not. His whole is not going to be not better, but he's not going to progress as much as he did before when he was younger. So I don't agree with the fact that he's finished.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I think you hit the nail on the head, because you need somebody to complement him in midfield. I think that if Yann M'Vila had Guillermo next to him, for example, I think that would be a rather good combination. But I think a lot of us agree that Pedro Martins is so focused on a defensive shape and approach that he's overdoing it. He said in his own interviews when we signed Philipp Zinkernagel that he considers Zinkernagel as a number 10. And yet we've never seen him play there. And at the beginning of pre-season, we saw him trying Agibou Camara at the 8 position. And against Alkmaar and against Maccabi today, we've seen him in a more progressive role behind the striker. But it's too much. It's too much. And I almost feel like it's not even worth my time to talk about what I think would look better. I mean, for the sake of discussion, what would you like to see in midfield? What do you think would be the ideal combination right now for us to play if we're playing this system? What do you think would make us more creative?
Well, to me, we have to see more. I would like to see more Kunde, because I don't understand how is being managed by Martins, because I agree that Martins may not like him, or he may not have requested him as a key player, but you cannot let him on the bench like that, and then you put him into the last part of the season. You realize that he's quite good, he can offer to the team, and then you don't use him at the start of the new season. So how is it possible for him to remain focused on the club and not looking for a way out of Olympiakos, because he's probably going to leave in this summer? So I don't really have any wishes, because I would like also to see more Dabo, which I saw with the B team, but he's not going to play with the first team right now, so it's not worth mentioning it. But I don't know. Maybe Pepe. To me, I would like. It would have been logical for me to reintegrate Pepe for the beginning of the summer until he finds a new club, because it might be useful, and you cannot. I don't know how to say that, but even Onyekuru, for example, it could have been better for us to stay the whole summer and leave like in August 31, because we all know he was going back to Turkey. So maybe why not use him for the preseason, give him like 1 month to prepare, and it could have been a solution, not as a key player, of course, but when I saw the Masura's game tonight, what solution does Martin have on the bench when you see something like that? I don't.
He doesn't have any. That's a problem. It's like one of the worst things that happened this summer is the fact that Gary Rodriguez got injured right before they left for preseason camp in Austria. And you know what, Martial? I'm glad you raised it, because what you just said about Henry Onyekuru, I know that, yeah, people voted him as the coat and the flop of the season. But looking at our options, I think that would have been smarter to keep him, let's say, in the team, because until we sell him, because if he was given that opportunity as well and he had the chance to play, we could have probably sold him. It would have been easier to sell him by the end of August, because he would have had games, he would have shown something. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that I've also thought about, but I haven't expressed in discussion on these podcasts. And yeah, how Pepe hasn't been given a chance after the decent, I mean, more than decent, good season he had in Portugal. And this is a player, by the way, that Pedro Martins asked to sign, and he's not even bought into preseason. You talk about Kunde too. I mean, Kunde is 6th choice in midfield. What did you think of Zinkernagel sub at halftime, Martial?
It doesn't make really sense to me, because the only change I would have made at halftime was Agibu out and Magibu in, like he did, and I think it was a good choice, because even if Madi had some poor choices offensively, he was very good to into the midfield, because he has more physical power and he's more mature than Agibu. But the Zinkernagel choice, I don't understand. I don't really understand.
No, me neither. It was baffling to me. I know he had a yellow card at halftime, but I think Masouras also had a yellow card at halftime, but Masouras stayed on the pitch.
Yeah.
Just like we said earlier, I thought that in the first half, the game plan for what it was at this time of the year in July, I think it was more or less going according to plan. And taking Zinkernagel off, he's the only player that can calm the game down, that can kind of play a nice pass, or even take a set piece. When we took him off, there was nobody that could deliver a nice set piece. There were a couple of free kicks that we won outside the box, and Masouras couldn't even get it past the first post, or into the box, into the danger zone. So that, the set piece threat was completely eliminated when we took Zinkernagel off. And again, I think I agree with you. If anything, I would have made one change at halftime. From my position as a manager from the couch, manager of the sofa, I would have probably taken off Agibu Kamara and put Madi on as well, and kind of try to structure the midfield a bit more and try and make sure we keep control. I think, I'm not going to say Koundé because he wouldn't in a million years bring him on. I think it's clear that he's not interested in him anymore. But I do want to say thank you very much to Irakor for your donation. Thank you very, very much. Irakor says, it seems like Martins is stuck in the sunken place. How has he come from having the team fighting toe-to-toe against everybody to being so negative?
And also, I would like to come back to the Onyekuru and Pepe issue, because to me, what's more frustrating is to see that even with a maybe 40-player squad, you're left with barely no solution in some position of the team. We are waiting for better players to come until the beginning of the season, but what we have to understand is that when you have to play qualifier, it's like you have to play one season and then you have to play another totally different season. And maybe Martins didn't use as much as he would have been able to use the large squad he has with the lone returnees. And obviously, I wasn't expecting him to use like Kumic or Rangelovic in this kind of game, but we have saw that last year Onyekuru came very late to the club. He was a 5 million signing, so maybe just try to use the best of him. Obviously, he was going back to Turkey. Everyone knows that because he has no other country to go to right now. But when I see Masouras tonight, to me, it was a mistake to let him go that early, because he could have been helpful in these first two games. But yeah, we will never know.
Yeah, no, we will never know. I'm just looking again at the comments. Guys, I did also just drop the link to the chat. So https://streamyard.com. If you've seen the link, guys, and you fancy joining the chat, come in, talk to us, tell us your views about the game. The link's there. Don't be shy. Again, if you haven't done so already, please don't forget to hit that like button. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps to get the episode out to more fans. And if you're joining us for the first time, please do subscribe to follow up on all content. Olympiakos from Gate 7 International. We are here with you. This is by the fans, for the fans. Once again, thanks very much. Going back to the comments. Yes, Martial.
I saw someone on the comments asking what we thought about Maccabi, and I would like to say that I really liked the midfield they have. I don't recall the number, maybe it's number 4. And when I was seeing the game, I was saying to myself, oh, he's doing what I expect from Kane, because he runs, he was doing a lot of pressure, and also he was able to create something with his feet, like long balls, short passes, and I really like this player. And he reminds me maybe what Martin thought when he see Kane playing with Neftchi last summer. I was telling to myself maybe he was realizing this player was interesting for Olympiakos. But I really liked this midfield, and I was surprised to see a player like that in Maccabi, because I know Maccabi it's one of the biggest clubs in Israel, but I wasn't expecting them to have a player like that. And at the opposite, I wasn't surprised by Piero that came in and wasted a huge opportunity, because he was playing in the French second division and he's a beast, but I wasn't surprised he missed that big opportunity, because he's not very precise in front of the goal. Thank God for us.
Yeah, I mean, there was that chance where he came through and had that chance with his left foot. Yeah, I mean, we talk outside the show as well, and the fact that you never said anything about this guy, I think that said a lot to me without saying anything. But I mean, what more can we say here? I'm just gonna go to the comments. Concept Calcio says, sorry, but the players they have the ability to string more than 3 passes together. But if the manager insists we sit on our 18-yard box and lump it to Tiquinho, what can they do? Andreas Mitis, yes, Andrea. Masouras is burnt. Guys, we have to take into consideration he's played non-stop for Olympiakos and Ethniki for 3 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
right.
it is true. And I said, that's, one of the points that we've been raising here. It's very unfortunate Gary Rodriguez is basically the only out-and-out winger that we have. Neither Masouras nor Zinchenko that started today are out-and-out wingers. Martial and I both raised our views about having Onyekuru as part of the preseason camp and using him. Probably a controversial point. Let us know what you guys think of that. Should Henry Onyekuru been a part of the preseason, given the situation at the club with the wingers? Would you rather see Lazar Adjelovic get a chance in this kind of game? Clearly, the manager didn't think so today. I mean, really, I'm asking the question now. Lazar, do you think Lazar could have done something today? Like, what could we have done today that the manager didn't do, in your opinion, Martial? You mentioned Valbuena. He could have brought Valbuena on towards the end of the game.
Yeah, first of all, I will answer about Lazar because we all know how frustrating Lazar can be. But to me, he is probably he's the player that looks like more a winger into the squad. It does not mean that he's the best winger, but he's really the, I don't know how to say that, but he remains on his side, like he runs nonstop on his side. He has quite good technical ability, but he's not able to make good crosses or good shoots. But he's really looking like a real winger, and maybe that could be useful, to create to make some differences against poor defender like MACCABI Haifa have. Like Sundgren, we all know Sundgren. He played in Aris, so probably Lazar is able to take advantage of him, and he could have, jumping into the game instead of Masouras, but probably he's not. Martins wanted something more, as you say, compact in terms of defense, and we all know that Lazar sometimes, he let the brain into the locker room sometimes. So he better remain on the bench because he could have been very tragical.
Yeah.
And to answer the rest of the question, I don't think that Martins could have made a lot of different choice tonight. Apart from Valbuena instead of Agibu, I don't see the lineup was quite decent for me. It was quite good because it looks like the best lineup he could field tonight.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know if there's much more we can analyze about the game today. The second half was pretty much a repetition of what we've seen last season, I would say. Or, I mean, we just sat back and we invited them, and whenever we won the ball, we kicked it straight back to them. Like, what else is there to analyze? I can only remember 2 opportunities that, half chances that we tried to create in the second half. And one was what I mentioned earlier, Aboubakar Kamara breaking on the left, slowing it down, waiting for Madi to make the run on the right. He opened it up with a nice pass. And then Madi put in a nice cross, and I think it was Planic that got his head to it just before the ball fell to Tiquinho. And the other chance was a shot from Abu outside the box that, went very wide. Otherwise, I felt like their keeper almost did nothing, didn't have a touch of the ball in the second half.
No, he didn't.
And it was just hoofing it long, and just unable to unable to string those passes together, unable to hold possession. Yeah, and then so sorry, my friend, SA, what to analyze? We knew all this and shouted a long time. No plan, no nothing, no creative football, no running. Again, guys, I said this before we went live, but I think that essentially it is all to play for in the Karaiskaki next Wednesday, Greek time. I think it's a 9 or 10 o'clock kickoff. Somebody remind me in the chat, but we live to fight another day. And I think this second round is all about getting through at all costs. Doesn't matter if we play good football, we just need to get through so that we buy time. We're buying time for the team, and the manager's also buying time, because let's be honest, and I'm not reading all the comments now because I don't think it's time to have that. We've talked about Martins before. I will say one thing about Martins. Whoever hasn't watched the interview that we did with Luciano de Souza, former legend of the club, we asked him his opinion about the manager and the situation. And the thing that he said was that if he was Martins, after 2 seasons, he would have got up and left by himself. That's the first thing he said. Second thing he said was that for a club in Greece, not a club like Olympiakos, but for a club in Greece to keep a manager for more than 2 seasons, let alone 4, going into 5, the club doesn't know what to do. They don't know how to handle that. And it shows in the discussions between the fans. You got, let's say, 50% of the fan base saying Martins did it in 2018 and 2019 when he came. The team played good football, so the team can play good football. So let's be patient. Let's get past the second round and bring in the transfers and then put the pieces together. And let's be patient. And then there's the other part of the fan base that's saying, no, he can't. He's come full circle. There's no more for this manager to give to the club. I don't know, Martial, I'm curious because I've never really asked you this question, or definitely not live, but I am curious for your opinion on this. Like, do you agree with what I said in terms of the split in the fan base and the reasons why on the one hand and the reasons on the other? Like, what do you think about that?
It's hard to have a clear answer on that, because on one side, I would say that it's a good sign for us to have a coach that is going into his 5th season with the club, because we all know how unstable we can be at Olympiakos. And for me, it's a massive improvement to realize that we can accept failure sometime, because after the failure, maybe you can have success, like Martins did between the first and the second year of his stint in Olympiakos. But on the second hand, I would say that maybe he has come full circle, as you said, because we all know how poor the league is in Greece in terms of organization, in terms of structure, and it's really hard for a coach to live like just 1 season with Olympiakos. I'm not sure I would survive to this, because a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves, and there is no league like that in Europe, because obviously to be a pro coach is very difficult, whether it's in France, United States, Australia. It's a really difficult job. But in Greece, with the pressure you have from the fans, with the poor organization, like having to play the cup at the end of May, for example, stuff like that, I would have expected from Martins to do like Marco Silva did years before, to live by himself, not in the middle of the preseason, but after like winning the double, he would have said, okay, I've enjoyed those 2 years, but it's time for me to go because I can't offer more to the club. And I'm sure that the club right now is I don't know if it's stuck with Martins, but what can the club can do with Martins? Like you gave him another contract months ago, and you would fire him if we don't go through Maccabi Haifa. I don't know. It's a very difficult situation. It reminds me what Paris Saint-Germain did with Laurent Blanc, for example, when they had to sack him just after renewing him, and it would be a bad message from the club. And we had a very good opportunity to let Martins go at the end of this contract, and we didn't took this opportunity, and I think we will regret it, because one way or another it will end very badly, I think, for Martins, because I don't see any other issue for him.
Well, thank you for putting down your opinion on the record, Martial. Of course.
Also, I would like to add that it's very hard to replace a coach in the middle of the summer, because you don't have a lot of free coaches. And I would have liked the club to do what we did with Martins when he came in. You remember he was announced in April, maybe.
Yeah,
April, or at the very beginning of the month of May, and maybe if we have been proactive on this situation, we could have found another coach. But like right now, if we sack Martins right now, I really fear that we will end up with someone that isn't better than Martins.
Yeah, that's a big discussion, of course. We'll get to that if and when that situation arises. Aris B bringing up, if you think Martins has zero say in transfers and that he's doing a good job with what he has, he says those are two very different issues. I don't know what to say. Kane, Rebchuk and Pepe were 100% his choices. I don't know about Kane. The other two for sure. Concept Calcio is talking about, why did we renew El Arabi? Mate, I brought that up quite earlier on in the discussion. Indeed, I do agree with you, but I did also say, both I and Martial, and I think majority of fans thought Tiquinho had a very good game today, actually. And I was surprised to see him in the lineup, but for me, he was man of the match, and we did put a poll out, and more than 60% of you guys that voted also agree Tiquinho man of the match today. I did just put another question, important poll, guys. Do you think Olympiakos can qualify for the next round? Yes or no? Hit the poll. Let us know what you guys think. And people are asking us, Martial. They want us to do player ratings. So shall we take this from the top and see how we do? Like, what did you think of the keeper today, Vaclik? Let's start with him.
Yeah, he was as good as he has been since he came to the club, and probably if he came earlier last summer, it could have been very different for us.
Yeah, the one thing I will say was that a couple of times crosses came in, and we've noticed this from last season, he just doesn't leave his line. Like when the crosses come in from the wings, he doesn't come out to claim them, and he just remains rooted. And I think once or twice it looked very dangerous for us when he didn't come off his line. And then, is it harsh to say that he could have done better, Martial, for the goal that we conceded? Do you think he could have done better?
Yeah, he could have done better, but I think he was surprised by this cross that turned into a shot. And yeah, he could have done better, but I won't blame him for this goal.
Yeah, it was kind of a fluke goal and just annoying, because I remember myself watching the game and thinking, stoppage time, first half, just keep the clean sheet, keep the goddamn clean sheet. We managed in the first half, and then we eat it in stoppage time towards the end of the game. So that was very, very annoying. Book, hello, our speakers, Greeks. I'm I'm not born in Greece, but I do speak Greek. Μιλάω ελληνικά. Όποιος θέλει να μπει μέσα να μιλήσει, παιδιά. But Martial doesn't speak any Greek, I'm afraid. Martial is our resident Olympiakos man in France. Gate 7 International, guys. This is what it's all about, bringing Olympiakos fans from all over the world. Yes, it is a Greek club, but we're also an international club. There are Olympiakos fans everywhere. And one of the things we're trying to do on this show is bring all these fans together. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Get this out to more Olympiakos fans around the world. What did you think of Vasalko, Martial? I thought he was solid. Like, I mean, surprised that he lasted. I'm surprised he lasted that long on the pitch today. But you can just see the class, right? And I don't know about you, like I was commenting after the Alkmaar friendly that I just loved seeing him shouting at players, or like, you know, telling Masouras where he should be, or like, you know, why didn't he go for the ball? Just that attitude. I think we really miss the player like that.
Yeah, I agree totally with that.
So I think, you know, positive performance from him. Manolas and Cissé, it was okay, but like, were they really under a lot of pressure today?
No, they just need to play more games together. But at some point, I saw Manolas like running from 10 meters to do a tackle, and he has like tremendous quality. If he is at 100%, he is the main starter for sure. There is no debate on this. And we also know that if Cissé is at 100%, which is mostly all the time, he has to play. So I feel bad for Socrates, because I don't really know if he accepts to be the third choice, but there is no debate.
No, I think you're right, man. Like in an ideal world, like you said, when Manolas and Cissé are both fit, I think those two are our two best central defenders. I don't know. I think Martial's camera has frozen. Perhaps Martial's gonna reconnect. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
you're back. I was just saying, Martial, I don't know if you heard me, but I agree with you. I think in an ideal world, Cissé and Manolas are the two best defenders that we have. When they're both 100% fit, they should be playing. And it's, again, one of the question marks and the criticisms that I had of the manager, who, of course, the manager can do whatever he wants during preseason. He's the manager. I'm not the manager. But I have a legitimate question, which is, why did we not see the manager try to put these two together, Cissé and Manolas? Everyone was expecting more or less like Socrates and Cissé to start today, and even that pairing, it was somewhat a surprise. As you said, does Socrates accept the role as the third defender? Maybe Cissé is not around at the end of the summer, because he's our most prized asset, I think, in terms of players that we can possibly get good money for this summer. But again, I'm surprised that we never saw that pairing for more than 15 minutes during preseason. Oleg, we already talked about. I think we got from Oleg what we get from Oleg, and that's it. We know his weaknesses and his strengths. Is there anything else to say? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think it will really improve from what we saw tonight.
No, I mean, I've said that if you sign a player, like a real competition, like a player that can compete with him for the spot at left back, then you can try to push him to improve a bit more. But is he really going to improve his ability to pass the ball in short spaces like we want to help for the build-up? I don't know. I never underestimate Eastern Europeans, though. I never underestimate Eastern European players. They have drive, motivation. We've seen that. So I don't know. Moving on. Zinchenko, I mean, he got the goal.
Yeah.
He got the goal. I think he was quite calm in possession. It's good to have a player like that can hold on to the ball for 5 seconds and, you know, pick a pass and just be calm. I think we spoke about that already. We missed him, I thought, in the second half. Masouras, same old. He did well. He did well in the situation for the goal. He outmuscled the defender. He did well in that situation. But again, like people in the chat have said, the guy's been playing non-stop for 3 years for the club and national team, and he's been run into the ground by the manager as well. He's just playing non-stop. Hasn't had a rest. I don't want to talk about those excuses anymore. What about the midfield? What more can we say? I feel like we talked a lot about the midfield already today.
I don't really know what to say. For me, it was okay, but it was okay on one part, and it was deceptive on the other. So the results affects maybe the way I see the player performances, because with the 1-0 victory, I could say, okay, the plan was correct and the plan was justified, but the late goal like changed everything. So that's why it's really hard to make player ratings like that right after a goal, like at 94, 95 minutes. But I would say they were okay, apart from Aguibou.
Yeah. I mean, for me, what we saw from Aguibou today was another kind of repeat of what we saw against Alkmaar. Just very good press, but when we wanted him to play the killer ball, when we wanted something to happen in the final third, it was lackluster. So he can't. I understand the press, but we lose so much. Like, is he really that afraid to bring Aguibou back and play next to Yann Villar and then play a more creative player? We're not even saying like play Carvalho, because you can argue Carvalho doesn't defend or he doesn't press. Zinkernagel presses. Why the hell doesn't he play him there? Because we don't have wingers is the answer. Some people might say. Why not try? Would you try Aguibou on the wing? Would you put him on the wing? No.
He has to be right next to the midfielder. He is too offensive sometimes, and we have seen that when he has to finish, he is lacking finishing, and it cost us a lot of goals last season. I can't name every game he did a wrong pass or a wrong shoot.
Yeah. Decision making. We talked about that a lot last season. His decision making.
Yeah, he has talent. That's obvious, but
yeah,
I think we are going to waste the talent, because he's going to play at position that does not suit his qualities. And Mady Camara offers more versatility into the midfield for me.
But even, don't you think that playing Mady Camara as a 10 is also a waste? Like, for me, it's either M'Vila and Mady or M'Vila and Aguibou. And Zinkernagel's the only 10 that we can play that also is creative and presses.
Yeah. Mady as a 10 it's a waste, but we have seen that Mady has finishing skills that could be helpful for the team, even if he's not a real 10. Like, he has a nice shooting skill. I remember the game in Marseille, for example. Like, he's always at the good place when we have a situation like at the beginning of the I don't know the word in English, like the opponent area, like the last 16 meters, is always at the good position. And he scored like key goals for the club into the last year. So maybe if we don't really have a 10, like, let's use him, because he runs everywhere and he's winning some balls from time to time, and it could be helpful.
Yeah, I just want to read this comment from Book. I think this is a new subscriber. Book says Olympiakos signed Zinkernagel, but Zinkernagel played full attacking style at Bode Glimt. That's before he moved to England and Watford. Current style doesn't match up with his skill. That's one of the talking points we mention here. To be honest with you, mate, like I would sacrifice to see Radjelovic play on the wing if that meant that Zinkernagel could play at the 10. I just don't think this manager's going to do it.
No.
Okay, so now we have to. We're just coming up to about an hour, and I think we're going to ask this question and then wrap it up. But do you think we can qualify? I have asked the question in the poll. Can Olympiakos qualify for the next round? I have to tell you guys, for those listening on audio, so far 54% say yes, we will qualify. 46% are saying no. For those of you that are following live right now, get involved. Let us know, yes or no. Do you think we can qualify next week at the Karaiskaki? Martial, what do you think? Can we take this next week at the Karaiskaki? And do you expect any difference in approach next week?
Yeah, we have to. And I want to say also that something that for me it's very important is since we don't have the rule of the away goal counting into Europe, and I think like having the second leg at home, it's a major advantage for us, because last year if I'm correct, we drew 2-2 at Ludogorets into the second game, and we would gone have through with the away goal rule, because when you play away into the second game, the welcoming team has the fear of conceding the goal that will like ruin everything. Because if we had the away goal rule against Maccabi next week, like they will probably know that if they score with the psychology that the team has right now, it would mean almost losing the game right after the goal, because I don't think that this team can survive this. But without the away goal, we basically need to win this game no matter how many goals we concede. And I think that makes a huge difference, because even a draw would mean like extra time. So Maccabi needs to win at Karaiskakis, and even if we are very poor, we can't allow that. And to answer to the question, I do believe that we will qualify, but we really has to qualify, because if I'm correct, it means that we will play in Europe if we win that leg. Maybe
No.
in Conference League, no? Do we have guaranteed?
I'm not sure about Conference League. If we go through to the third round, we're still not guaranteed Europa League. Last year we got knocked out in the third round, and we had to beat Slovan Bratislava to qualify for the Europa League.
If we lose in Champions League, then we go back to Europa League. And if we lose Europa League, does it mean we go to Conference League straight? Because if I'm correct, Apollon Limassol has Conference League guaranteed. So if we pass this round, I have to check that, but
yeah,
take some pressure from the team.
That takes that takes us to another discussion about whether we should be settling for conference. And there was this quote that Marko Pantelic made in a paper, it's a Gazeta.gr the other day, about Champions League is very difficult for a club like not a club like Olympiakos, but for a Greek club, considering the state of the Greek league. But Olympiakos should be aiming to get to a final, or to get very deep into a Europa League competition. That's maybe a discussion for another time. To answer that question as well, do I think we will qualify? I think I want to believe, of course, that we will qualify, and we'll buy more time for the team. I think I worry I worry that Martins is going to take the same approach, and it might be a strange atmosphere in the Karaiskaki. I don't know how many people are going to be able to go, because the game is at the end of July. A lot of people start leaving for holidays. Maybe there will be 15, 20,000, maybe more. Hopefully, as many people can go to the Karaiskaki as possible. If I was in Greece, I would go. No matter where I was, I'd get to Athens, get to Karaiskaki. So, guys, any of the Greeks listening, go out, support the team. The team needs our support now to get through this round. No matter what our opinions are, we always have to be behind the team, the good times and the bad times. So let's see. We have another week. We will have a chance for another podcast before there. Definitely, there'll be another round of preview for the tie before we play on the 27th. Before we do go, Martial, you know that as is custom on the show, after games we normally do man of the match and coach's grade. I think we can both say who our man of the match was for the game at the same time. 3, 2, 1. Tiquinho. Yeah. So I think Tiquinho was our man of the match. Coach's grades, I give Martins a C today. I think his choice to play Tiquinho up front was it showed to be the best choice he made, I think, out of the surprises in the lineup. Then I think for me, his substitutions at halftime, I don't agree with the subs that he made. And then just, the team lost complete control, any control that they had in the second half, and it could have been worse at the end. So I think C for me is a balanced result. Like, what do you think? What's your grade?
I agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Also C. Okay. So Martial and I both agree on this. That brings us to the end, guys. Thanks very much for keeping with us. I know it's 12:30 in Greece. I know some people are following us from Melbourne as well, from the US, UK, Germany. I saw some people chiming in. Of course, Martial in France, Belgium, Switzerland, I've seen in the chat as well. If I've forgotten anyone, drop us a comment in the chat. Where are you writing from, or where are you following us from? That's it, guys. That's all we've got time for today. Don't forget, before you go, hit that like button. Doesn't cost you anything. Really helps us a lot. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell as well. Get a notification every time that we go live or a new episode comes up. The next one will be coming soon. We are Gate 7 International. I'm Costa. Martial, quick shout out to you before you go. If you don't follow Martial on Twitter, you can follow him at Olympiakos with a K, at Olympiakos FR. Go and follow him on his profile. Martial, any last words of wisdom before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's important to remain positive, because as much as we are angry with the outcome of the night, I think that in qualifiers, what matters the most is to qualify, and if we have to qualify through a very poor second leg game with a PK at the last minute, then I will take it every day.
Oh God, I don't think I can handle penalty kicks, to be honest with you. But I hope it doesn't get to that, Martial. And on that note, guys, on that note of suspense, again, thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. See you next time.
Mágico, o fubá, Jesus,